If you were here a year ago, it was dark, it was gloomy, there wasn't much weather protection, it didn't feel friendly.
He's one of the richest men in Australia and the country's largest private owner of hotels. But Jerry Schwartz shows no sign of slowing down when it comes to his interest in the Hunter. Today announcing his seaplane service, Blue Sky Airways, will take off in August.
I plan to run a service from Cessnock Airport to Newcastle Harbour to Sydney Harbour, and this will be with an amphibious aircraft which we can land at Cessnock and on the water at Newcastle Harbour.
Aiming to open up access to the region, the hotel tycoon has also invested in a bus to provide daily connections between Newcastle and the Hunter. The transport plans come as no major surprise though, with Dr Schwartz's name against several of the region's hotels, including 2 Crown Plazas.
When I don't drive here, I'm unable to come here by train. So I can get to Newcastle by train, but I cannot get to the Hunter by train.
Meanwhile, a question mark has been hanging over the mogul's plans for his landholding near Wharf Road. Last year, a development application was approved for the hotel, but he says after a 3-year wait with council, he now looks to submit a new DA to build student accommodation, valued at $28 million instead.
The aim was to put car parking underneath, build over at a convention centre and build over that accommodation. And that is still my plans in the pipeline.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
A rare reunion of some of the top minds in breast cancer research. These men are among the founding members of the Australia and New Zealand Breast Cancer Trials Group in Newcastle to join Professor John Forbes in celebrating his distinguished career.
We've had the most remarkable collegiate group for several decades, and some of the brightest people in the country, in the world, who are very well informed, and that's an exciting environment to work in.
Since its inception in 1976, the group has paved the way for national and international clinical trials for the treatment and prevention of the disease.
The group that started off with a small number of keen people has now got 800 members, 90 institutions, and has published hundreds of papers, each of which improves the treatment of women with breast cancer.
While treatment has come a long way, Professor Forbes believes we're on the cusp of a revolution with advancements in science and technology.
No operation, no nasty chemotherapy drugs, we hope, and no radiotherapy, we hope. Breast cancer will be a small incident in the life of a woman, not a tragedy.
And while the professor himself won't be leading the group, retirement in no way means forgetting his work altogether.
We sit back and make comment and guide and advise, but we're far from inactive.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
We try to make it fun, but we do try to put the brigadesmen under pressure and test their response in as close as possible to emergency.
They all have their own niche. Some of them are next door neighbours to each other and they're under one roof. So it's just a great experience going and tasting all the region.
Sponsors Day and Derby Day for Merewether, but not quite what was planned. The game forced a number 2 sports ground due to the state of Townsend Oval right into the Two Blues fortress, but for a while they made it their own. A 3-0 lead and setbacks for the Wanderers. First, Reece Dompkins went to the bin. Seconds later, this hit saw Callum McDonald join him. The Greens pushed further ahead, but when the lead was stretched to 9 points, the Two Blues sprung into action and in impressive style. Josh McCormack taking matters into his own hands with the help of a lucky bounce. He regathered, scoring the game's first try. Greens fullback Sam Rouse produced something just as special to save another try, but they couldn't hold out. Tim Marsh helping the Wanderers in front 12-9 on the stroke of half-time. And that was a sign of things to come. The Two Blues running away with the result. The Greens just didn't have an answer in the second as the points were piled on. The loss leaves Merewether facing an uphill battle to make the finals, especially facing Hamilton next week.
United they stand. Alongside federal MP Meryl Swanson today, Labor unveiled its candidates for the Port Stephens Council election in September. Among them, a firefighter, businessmen and women, and a retiree.
As you can see from our background, we're very diverse, but we're all committed to the one cause, and that is we want change at this council.
The launch saw a pitch about transparency.
All the current councillors hide behind the word independent. Almost all of them are in some sort of political party, and we think it's time to end that. We think that people deserve to know what they're getting when they vote for people.
Current Lord Mayor Bruce Mackenzie disagrees, telling NBN News the last thing we want is either a Labor or Liberal-run council. The 42-year local government veteran also confirmed he plans to run for the top job again. But Labor's mayoral candidate, Madawi businessman Desmond Maslin, is feeling confident.
I think we can take him out, and I think we can take him out quite easily. Bruce has been here for a long time and he's entrenched. We're not. We have fresh ideas, new ideas.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Rachel Reeve is on a mission to help save lives, driven not only by her own determination, but that of her mother.
I was very passionate about making a difference, so hence why I've carried on the legacy in her honour.
Just over a month ago, Rachel's mother, Rose Malloy, lost her 5-year battle with ovarian cancer, aged 77. Rachel hopes by helping fund vital research, more women can win the fight.
We're going to divide the funds between HMRI, Newcastle, and also a group called SOC, is for short, stands for Stop Ovarian Cancer, and all the money raised in SOC goes towards women in the Hunter.
She recently underwent her own transformation as part of the fundraising campaign, the first of ongoing efforts. This one raising more than $4,000 in just a few weeks. In 2013, there were close to 1,400 new cases of ovarian cancer in Australia. This year, the number's expected to rise to around 1,580, and of those, an estimated 1,000 women will lose their battle with the disease.
If you've got that feeling that something's not right, you're normally right. We all know our bodies, so don't ignore it. The less people that go through what my mum went through, the better.
If you'd like to help Rachel, just head to our website. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Going in on the back of 20 consecutive away losses, the opening minutes didn't offer much hope for the Knights. Tyson Frizzell showed no sign of origin fatigue, starting a move out wide. Less than 2 minutes later, Jason Nightingale went over for try number 100. But if anyone could hit back for the Knights, it was Nathan Ross, forcing his way over after a quick play the ball. Maroons hero Dane Gagai sparked some fire. The Ross dog capitalised. A flat ball then sent South's Newcastle junior Lachlan Fitzgibbon over. While Ross is a man who loves scoring against the Dragons, he can even do it solo. A birthday present for Sione Matautia, a suspect pass put Brendan Elliott over. 5 in 15 minutes and the Dragons had conceded their most first-half tries ever at Kogarah. Then came the second half. It was all the red V. Josh Dugan beat 4 to slam the ball down. The floodgates opened, as did the holes in the Knights' defence. Nightingale showed anything Ross can do, he can do, crossing for his hat-trick to level the scores with half an hour to go. The Dragons then moved ahead when Kurt Mann found a gap. It was all going wrong for the now desperate Knights outfit. The last roll of the dice, a knock-on, the story of their season.
Yesterday I was having my doubts, I really was, seeing the conditions and feeling how it actually was up there, but you know, I came here this morning with a different attitude just to get the job done and to do the dives good, and I think, you know, that really helps to go out with that positive attitude.
It was the home side with the first opportunity. Matt Trott struggled to contain a Reece Cooper strike. Olympic continued to threaten, but luck wasn't on its side. Gunning for a top 4 spot, Maitland eventually drew first blood. Matt Thompson and Matt Comerford combined for a quality finish. At the start of the second half, Comerford looked just as dangerous, cut down by Marcus Duncan. Tomo stepped up and made no mistake, bringing his total to 7 goals for the season. Hamilton kept chipping away to no avail. Despite the scoreboard deficit, the hosts never looked flustered, Scott Smith finally making the breakthrough. It was just the spark Olympic needed. Its second came a minute later, courtesy of Sean Pratt. The relief was obvious. Suddenly locked at 2-2, the visitors didn't want to share the spoils. Neither did Hamilton. Comerford pushed the home side until the very last minute, but a draw was the final result. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Doyle gets there. What a start for Jason Doyle.
Incredible.
He's doing the business. It's magic. Maxi Janowski.
Of course he has. He's won the Grand Prix. He won here last year, but he's won his last 4 races on the night. What a night for him.
And the title race is level going into the World Cup break. Cardiff in 4 weeks' time sees Jason Doyle and Patrick Dudek level on 65 each in the title race, and Janowski is on 58 now.
It's all fun and games for the time being, But these children at Karua's First Chance Childcare Centre may soon be looking for a second one.
Here we are at the 11th hour and nobody is stepping up to say that they're going to make sure that these programs don't fold.
Caught in the middle of a funding tug of war, the centre's Little Yarns program. After 9 years, it's now on the brink of collapse as funding transitions from a block model to an individual one.
To lose this particular program would mean another slap in the face for Aboriginal people who are trying to just take that extra step forward.
Forget what the government does, just they need to pull their act together and just do their job the right way.
The NDIS-approved program offers specialised support to more than 170 Indigenous children across Newcastle, Lake Macquarie and Port Stephens. Despite almost 12 months of negotiations, a tailored funding package for the Little Steps program looks unlikely before the July 1 deadline.
This is about Indigenous children and their families, but it's about our whole community. It's about how we say that social justice really matters, and it's about a close the gap strategy.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It's just 6 days until Newcastle Sunday hits newsstands, the birth of a major new player in the Hunters media industry.
We got the national papers on Sunday, but there's no real good Sunday read locally.
Owner Elwyn Lang has been in the newspaper game for 40 years in the Central West. Today he showed off an early draft. The first edition is still in the works.
It really is exciting, and we're getting fantastic response from everyone we talk to, all the news agents, and of course the biggest thing, we're getting a great response from advertisers.
It's local journalists telling local stories, including former Herald reporter Dan Proudman as news editor and columnist Greg Ray, 20 staff producing 112 pages, including real estate.
It'll have hard news, it'll have exclusives, it'll have enormous amounts of sport in it, but it'll also have positive stories, and it'll have long reads, and it'll have massive features sections, which I think people want to read over their bacon and eggs on a Sunday morning.
And there's cautious optimism from media experts.
I'm sure that there are people who think that it's a very brave decision in 2017 to be starting a newspaper, and I guess time will tell whether such a model is sustainable. People with fat contact books have been put together to be involved in this operation. I think there's every chance that it will be a winner.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
From this to this. Today, 2 Newcastle breakfast radio teams settled into their new home by the harbour.
It was a little bit like Christmas, going to sleep and knowing that you'd wake up to something new and shiny. And I was really excited. I didn't sleep all that well.
KOFM and Hit 106.9's new studios, located on the top floor of a recent addition to Honeysuckle, are complete with stunning views and the latest broadcast equipment.
For them to have invested the money they have, which is millions, in this beautiful new building for Newcastle people, I think that says more about the town than anything else. Don't you reckon?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's more about. It's more about the whole place is reflecting where we're all heading and we're jumping on for the ride.
Whether it be separately or together, KOFM's Tanya and Steve have spent more than 35 years on the local airwaves, but despite their veteran status,
Diamond encrusted microphones didn't happen yet.
I wanted a gold one, diamond one, nothing.
they did get a few shiny new toys, a pinball machine and egg chairs, just 2 new work perks. Having kick-started his own media career at the station, NBN weatherman Gavin Morris was on hand to help celebrate. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
A bus for kids with autism that don't get to go any school excursions. Kids with disabilities, there's a wheelchair ramp on the bus that they can be taken on school excursions.
The Knights gathered at club headquarters this afternoon ahead of a video session that wasn't going to be pleasant viewing. The players are still struggling to find a reason for surrendering an 18-point lead to the Dragons.
Confidence, maybe it comes down to experience. Could be a lot of things, but I couldn't really tell you one thing that it comes down to be honest, yeah.
Jalen Feeney took the loss personally. The young halfback is off contract at the end of this season and admits that's beginning to have an impact.
It definitely sits in the back of your mind before game and during the week, but that's all you can do. You just put it behind you and get out there, and when the game time comes, that's what your focus is.
The 22-year-old says he's happy with where the club is headed and wants to be a part of the rebuild.
We've made them aware of where we sort of stand, but at the end of the day, we just sit there and wait our time. They're out there looking at some players that they want to get and bring to the club that will help the club out, but as soon as they want to come talk to me, I'm here.
For now, the focus is on hosting the last-place Tigers at McDonald Jones Stadium on Sunday. Feeney and his teammates say they'll take plenty of confidence from their first half effort against St George Illawarra and from the corresponding fixture last season where they beat Wests and contained their stars.
James Tedesco, that was at the stage where he was carving up, edges all side of the field, so I definitely took a lot of confidence in that we could stop him that day, and hopefully that we can stop him this weekend.
If today was any indication, things are looking up for the Jets.
It's 20 degrees, blue skies, beautiful surface here at Newcastle University, and the most players I've ever had turn up for day one of pre-season training, so all is good.
A host of new signings were in Newcastle colours for the first time, including Daniel Georgievski and Costa Petratos, while for Nikolai Topor-Stanley it was a case of welcome back. Former Mariner Roy O'Donovan has never played alongside any of the Jets squad and admits his reputation may have preceded him.
So they probably thought it was going to be some lunatic turn up this morning, but I'm a normal guy. I talk, I play hard, but I'm pretty quiet off the pitch.
The Irish import will be part of Merrick's new attacking style.
Decision making's got to be rapid, and they've got to be under pressure to perform quickly and preferably play the ball forward. There's too many take the easy way out and play it square or backwards.
I think it's going to be a good season. I'm excited. I've been around a long time, but I haven't been this excited in a while.
The coach has a few more pieces to add to the puzzle, but he's been surprised by some of the names that have been linked to the Jets.
I think Lionel Messi was mentioned last time and Ronaldo, but we're not going for those two. We're going for a better quality, and it'd be ideal if we get an experienced player that can break forward quick, a bit of pace about them coming off through midfield.
Several positions will be up for grabs, but Merrick says Nigel Bogard will retain the captaincy. He and Steven Ugarkovic were on light duties today and will be eased into the long pre-season. And the reigning Player of the Year is keen to improve on the attacking aspects of his game.
A new coach comes in, last season's forgotten, and you got to start from scratch, work hard, and that's what I'm like, and that's what I'm going to do.
Taking on fellow cellar dwellers the Adrenaline, Newcastle had to win. The North Stars led at the end of the first period. But the visitors clawed their way back to hit the front. The two sides then traded goals to make it 4-4. In the shootout, goaltender Charlie Smart was the hero. Onto two wheels, and Maitland District Motorcycle Club was overrun with riders on the weekend during the fourth round of the East Coast MX Series. Riders from 5 to 50 years old gathered valuable points in the 5-round series. The final will be held in Cessnock on July 22. To the ring, and Lake Macquarie's Jake Snowden has maintained his undefeated record thanks to a win over Queensland's Steve Roberts. Snowden won a close points decision and his team is now hoping he can challenge for a state heavyweight title.
Speeding fines and demerit points are a familiar sting for misbehaving drivers. But does the message sink in? The NRMA's Kyle Loades doesn't think so. He says more education would drive us towards safer roads.
In the UK, there's been a very, very successful speed awareness program. You sit down for 4 hours, half a day, and go through and learn about awareness of the importance of speeding.
Currently, 98% of speeding fines issued in New South Wales are for drivers doing 10 kilometres or less over the limit. Usually that means a $114 fine and 1 demerit point, but for drivers with a good record, the safety and awareness classes is a one-off substitute. The NRMA points to the results overseas.
That 4-hour course in the UK, 99% of participants said it changed their driving behaviour, and that is really important.
The state's Roads Minister, Melinda Pavey, says the government always welcomes suggestions to improve road safety, and this is a good idea. Drivers should always be looking to improve their skills, and the government will consider it. Until then, the message remains the same.
We must slow down, save lives, and this could be the difference.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
It's the national song, but not for the first time its representation of the country is in question.
When the national anthem was first written in the 1870s, we were a young nation, a colonial state, and we didn't recognise the history of our first Australians.
Lake Macquarie councillor and school principal Brian Adamthwaite is calling on Canberra to change one word in the second line. From "we are young and free" to "we are strong and free" in recognition of Indigenous Australians.
Just one change in word. It doesn't change the beat. It even rhymes well enough. And that makes a big difference to those people who don't feel included in our national anthem.
If they think about it, they can be included in it, can't they?
I think strength is a better quality to talk about than age. We don't like ageism for anybody, let alone Aboriginals.
I don't think it should be changed at all, really.
The motion was passed despite opposition from 3 councillors, who were of the belief it wasn't an issue for the council to be dealing with. The Mayor will write to the Prime Minister within the next 2 weeks.
Throughout Australia, in other council areas, there may have been suggestions as well for it to be changed. So it'll be interesting to find out what actually happens.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
It's a city undergoing an extensive transformation, but amid all the changes throughout Maitland, the focus isn't shifting away from its greatest asset.
The river has been our lifeblood in Maitland.
Upgrade plans for Queen's Wharf at Morpeth and the riverbank at Lorne are expected to soon be placed on public exhibition.
We're encouraging the community to please make comment. You will have 42 days in which to make that comment.
Lorne will see new exercise equipment, picnic tables, a children's play area, an off-the-leash dog zone and a large plaza, while the draft plan for the 2.8-hectare site at Morpeth suggests additional parking, new pathways and upgraded jetty facilities. Morpeth has played a key role in Australian history. Among the master plan's suggestions, a heritage display to celebrate its significance.
Morpeth was the first port established outside of Sydney Harbour, and so many people set foot on Australian soil at Morpeth.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
The simple act of growing food and then giving it to people who need it, it's something that we really believe that's important.
Taking the full force of a starting side, it's a lot quicker than coming off the bench when everyone's a bit tired, but I guess it's the progression and it's something I look forward to doing in the future, I guess. So yeah, it was good to get a taste of it.
Big news in the NRL tonight with the Knights announcing they've signed Sean Kenny-Dowell until 2019, effective immediately. Reporter Meredith Gibbs joins us live. And Meredith, will he take to the field against the Tigers on Sunday?
Well, Mitch, unfortunately for Knights fans, they'll have to wait a little bit longer. He's set to be out for the next couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. Now, a week ago, the former Roosters player escaped conviction for cocaine possession, instead handed a good behaviour bond. Depending on his recovery from injury, he could make his debut for Newcastle against his old club in round 20. Here's what Sean Kenny-Dowell had to say about his signing.
Really looking for a fresh start, and I've got new motivation and goals to come here and make a difference. So I'm really excited to get stuck in and get on the field and get ready to get out there and play.
Kenny-Dowell is the club's second high-profile signing in as many weeks after Aidan Guerra. Back to you, Mitch.
Meredith Gibbs reporting there. He made 81 appearances for the Jets between 2009 and 2012, including a handful as captain. But Top-Or Stanley says it was his time under Tony Popovich at the Wanderers that made him the player he is today.
I thought I knew a lot more than I did, but I really saw that he brought a new level to what being a professional meant, and that means looking after yourself 24/7. It's not just while you're on the pitch, it's not just while you're in the training ground, it's every day, it's in the off-season.
At 32, the Asian Champions League winner is as motivated as ever to succeed. Fit and healthy heading into the long A-League pre-season, he's loving being back in the Hunter.
It's an easy life, but I didn't come here for a holiday either. I came here to work. I came here to put in the hard yards and to make this team successful.
Top-Or Stanley is one of several new additions to the squad and admits he's only played alongside a handful of his new teammates. He's keen to mentor the younger players and turn Newcastle into a title contender.
That should be the goal for every team in the league. If you're there just to exist, I think that's your first mistake. So, we should aim to finish as high as possible, and that's first place.
Fellow recruit Dimi Petratos will begin full training next week, as will English import Wayne Brown and keeper Glenn Moss, who returns from the Confederations Cup. Having recovered from a serious knee injury, former Mariner Jake Adelson is trialling with the Jets this week, hoping to push for an A-League contract.
It's the biggest senior regional touch tournament in the state, and for another few years, it will continue to call Maitland home.
It's absolutely amazing for Maitland Touch. We've already hosted for a 3-year period. We originally got our tender for. We then were offered a 2-year extension, so we've held it for the last 5.
Maitland Touch faced stiff competition from 3 other clubs, but in the end, its facilities got it over the line.
We like this area. There's plenty of area for our players and families to park their cars. There's facilities around that their families can utilise.
Used as an audition for the Hornets national team, more than 60 sides will compete across 13 divisions at the 2-day event.
We are the most central, I believe, in our Hornets region, which is a definite plus for everyone. It does encourage our Western teams to come across, also because we go down to the Central Coast as well, so they're a short trip up the freeway now.
As for the home ground advantage,
definitely for our teams. We've had some previously very strong teams and we're looking to build again on those.
The tournament will take place in October. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. Up to 60 metres high with around 150 units. It's one of the big concept plans being spruiked to developers by those selling this landmark pub.
Just showing what could be built within the design envelope as that with those guidelines approved by council.
The Cambridge Hotel is new to the market, with its owners looking to take advantage of the revival of Newcastle West.
Particularly with what's happening across the road at the store, it's time for it to go to the next phase and for Newcastle to grow with it.
But musos and patrons can rest assured the Cambridge won't be closing its doors anytime soon. Co-owner John Palmieri says it's certainly not an overnight move, with a 6-year lease still in place.
I would think that over the period of time that we're talking about, that an alternative site will come available, or indeed I might put something else somewhere else.
The venue's licensees were unable to be reached for comment today. Instead, they released a statement on Facebook saying they have no intention of shutting the party down.
I think that'll create an opportunity for the developer to talk to the current operators about the next few years, and then beyond that, would there be an opportunity to bring a pub back into any new developments.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
We are surrounded by so much growth in the area as far as community, and we know that these theatres will be well utilised with our existing surgeon base and new surgeons coming on board.
From above, it looks picture perfect, but it's what lies beneath that counts.
I did a seagrass mapping survey for the council at the end of last year. I just noticed that there was a lot of marine debris and rubbish and everything down there.
It's dirty work, but someone has to do it. And today it was a community effort, from in the water to the surface. The Mile River Action Group's working bee drew quite a crowd. Volunteers finding everything from traffic cones to signs, bicycles and bottles, all bar the kitchen sink.
Disappointed, yes. Surprised, no. This is the modern blight on our society.
It's always disappointing to see human impact on beautiful places, but the marine life down there is fantastic. So there's just so many beautiful species and everything down here.
Deemed a success, the clean-up won't be the last.
It should become a regular fixture into the future, and we have yet to do over the other side, over at Hawks Nest side. I'm sure there'll be debris along their waterfront as well. So that'll be a project maybe next year.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
They don't come much cuter than this. Oakvale Farm and Fauna World is now home to 4 of these inquisitive little joeys. This year's nursery represents the best ever result for the park's breeding program.
Koalas Australia-wide, there's only about 40 to 80,000 left in the wild, so it's quite critical, and it just gives, I guess, guests an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the plight of the koala and how they can help save them.
Kari is a first-time mum to this adventurous little guy who's just beginning to grasp what life outside the pouch is all about, while Coca is taking care of her 4th joey, a boy, who prefers staying close for cuddles. But these bubs aren't the only new attraction. It's hard to believe, but yes, this is a wombat being taken for a walk. Hitch is being trained for a very special mission.
He'll sort of be an ambassador for his kind and sort of shed light on the plight of the northern hairy-nosed wombat, which there's actually only 240 individuals left in the wild. Probably the most critically endangered marsupial in the world.
As you can see, Hitch is very busy preparing for his big day on Saturday, when the public can get a chance to take him for a walk. That's if all the training doesn't wear him out first. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Kenny Dow thought his career might be over when he was charged with cocaine possession and released by the Roosters. He sees the move to the Knights as motivation to become a better person and player.
It's not the ideal circumstance to come here, and it's something that I'm not proud of, but I'm really thankful to the club, and I really want to earn the respect of the club and the community and work really hard to repay the faith. I realise I'm one of the older players at the club now, and my behaviour has to fit that role as well.
His new teammates have rolled out the welcome mat.
I met Sean this morning and he's done his first video session with us, and his experience is already starting to shine through. I guess as outside backs, he tipped us up on a few things that we can improve on, and it's great to have him here.
The 29-year-old says his hamstring injury isn't as bad as first thought and hasn't ruled out playing his first game in red and blue against the Bulldogs on Sunday week. He's determined to be back before the round 20 clash with the Roosters.
Yeah, I've seen, it's obviously coming up on the calendar, and I'd love to, go back to Allianz Stadium and, be ready for that game for sure. Pretty weird playing against the old club that I've only ever played for the Roosters, and at the same time, I'll be excited to get it out of the way nice and early and, get on with it as well.
Having spent 2 months on the sideline, Kenny Dow has plenty of reasons to finish the season strong with a spot in the New Zealand side for the World Cup potentially up for grabs. For now, he has to figure out where he fits in at Newcastle.
Just on the field, I'll be happy with, just to contribute and do my role, whether it's at wing or centre.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. Nathan Ross admits he and his teammates should be motivated to win every game, but he didn't mince words when talking about the importance of Sunday's clash.
It's like our State of Origin, it's like our grand final. We have to win this weekend, it's a big game, and it's our first home game for a while now, and we're doing the Voice for Mining round. We'll be on our high vis, so there'll be a lot of emotion in it, but we're going to try and contain that.
Following a 3-try haul against the Dragons, Ross has retained the number 1 jersey.
I've played fullback for a number of years now. It's a position that I've been eagerly waiting in the wings to try and get a shot at. I think on the weekend I put a pretty good foot forward and to state my case.
In a major boost for Newcastle, former Blues utility Jamie Buhrer looks set to make his long-awaited return from injury.
He runs hard, he Ds well, he's got a ball-playing type game in him, so bringing him back's only going to help us, that's for sure.
Despite their position on the ladder, Ross believes the Tigers have too many weapons to be taken lightly, and he knows a second half like the one the Knights produced against the Dragons won't get the job done.
I think it's the strongest team they've fielded in the past month, so we've just got to be ready for everything. You want to tread lightly and show some respect to your opposition, but we're not in a position to do that. We need to go out all guns blazing and come away with the win.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. The 2017 Hunters feature plenty of new faces, including the 3-time Olympian. Having posted big numbers in recent weeks, Susie Batkovic's absence is sure to be felt on Saturday.
That just means the rest of us have to pull her weight a little bit more. I think we can do it. They don't have anyone overly big, so it'll be a very guard-oriented game.
Currently 10th, the men's team faces a massive task against the league-leading Comets. Despite the tough season, the future is looking bright for Newcastle, with the Hunters able to promote young, up-and-coming talent such as 17-year-old Joel Rourke.
2 Jacobs, Jacob Foy and Jacob Doricott. Those guys are really going well. They've come through the program with me.
The Hunters will wear this special red strip on Saturday as the club looks to raise more than $5,000 for variety.
Last game of the season, so we hope to have a big crowd, do lots of fundraising for a good cause.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.